This is a message, an idea, a state of mind. Since killing your gains is everywhere, it seems, I thought, is anything actually killing your gains? And the answer was so obvious that nobody had made a video yet. Perhaps because they don't have time.
Have you ever heard the phrase, you know, there's always been the people, throughout our like history of making videos or whatever, of people who maybe work full-time jobs, whatever, and they're like, I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to work out.
Case in point, I was editing this video, and now I have to go to work.
I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to work out.
And I have also heard that people don't have time on multiple occasions. And I think how nice it is to walk and to swim. And I think every body is a temple, and every person should be able to maintain it without compromise. On the subject of time, let me share some clips from one of my favorite channels, Second Thought. He says these things better than me. Clips are from 1920 through 1922.
Back in the 1960s, only 20% of American mothers worked. This was partly due to the perceived role of the mother as the primary homemaker and caretaker, but it was also largely because most households only needed one source of income to provide a financially stable and upwardly mobile life. Today, 70% of American children live in households where both parents are employed. Most families simply can't get by on a single source of income. At least 134 countries have laws that cap the maximum length of the work week. The US does not. In the United States, almost 86% of men and over 66% of women work more than 40 hours per week. You've probably heard that Japanese workers are some of the most overworked in the world. The average American works 137 more hours per year than the average Japanese worker. We work 260 more hours than the British. We work 499 more hours than the French. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, productivity of the average American worker has increased by 400% since 1950. If we're producing value at 4 times the previous rate, that would mean we could earn a comparable living to our grandparents in 1/4 the work hours, right? Obviously, that's not the case. We're working longer hours at a drastically increased rate of productivity, but we don't benefit from that labor. But this toxic idea that we need to give up hours, days, years of our lives as a sort of sacrifice to appease the gods of success is not only misguided, it's actively throwing away your life. Hustle culture destroys your work-life balance, and those who engage in it see themselves as morally superior to people working traditional jobs for a wage. These sorts of false divisions among the working class are exactly what the ruling class wants. The same is true of the false division between the working class and the so-called middle class. It's a meaningless distinction designed solely to make more comfortable workers feel superior to their lower-paid counterparts, and therefore at odds with their own best interests. If you feel superior to others, or see yourself more like the billionaires than your fellow workers, you'll never organize against your oppressors, because you believe you might one day become part of this upper echelon. If you just work a few more hours per week, surely you'll be rewarded and gain entrance into their elite club. America's cult of overwork destroys our collective imagination. It removes every possible motivation beyond the desire for the accumulation of more wealth. To many Americans, there is nothing but work and the possibility of eventual reward. Work is the only thing that matters. But there is so much more to life than what capitalism has conditioned us to pursue. If we worked fewer hours, we could take time to spend with family and friends. We could learn that hobby we've been putting off for years. We could write novels, produce art, create things that enrich the lives of others on a fundamental human level. We could take time to just exist. When was the last time you just took a day to relax and you didn't feel guilty about it? We're so conditioned to believe that we should always be working that even when we're not working, it's all we can think about. The American dream, the obsession that anyone can, quote, make it if they work hard enough, is thoroughly tangled up with the notion of American exceptionalism. We think it's because we work so hard that we are exceptional. And you know what? We are exceptional. We're the most overworked population on the planet. Our standard of living is going down. Our life expectancy is going down. So yes, we are exceptional, but we're exceptional in all the wrong ways. If we don't dismantle the oppressive structures that enable this culture of overwork, this is the only form of American exceptionalism that will ever exist.
I cannot tell you how many times I have had similar thoughts about the United States and work and capitalism on my walks. He even went as far as to say how lives are lost. But this video is primarily concerned with your gains. I am fortunate to make these videos that reflect my goals, values, and interests. Sometimes I look at the world and think that people are sleepwalking when they should be backflipping, but then I remember they probably don't get any sleep.
Coach Greg, today it's all about sleeping. Sleeping is one of the most underrated things we do in all of athletic performance. Most of you just go to bed, sleep in whatever way you want, wake up and hope for the best. We put no thought into are we sleeping correctly, incorrectly, and how do we maximize our sleep and maximize our gains? If you don't sleep properly, how can you expect to grow properly? But to me, the best way to go to sleep is the way your body most feels comfortable to go to sleep. Is it on your back? On your side? Legs in the air, feet elevated? So in my opinion, you should sleep the way you want to sleep.
Your buddy is hard at work sleeping. If you're the nocturnal type that gets hardly any sleep with the occasional 8-hour sleep, chances are you're holding yourself back from getting the best results possible. We already know how important sleep is just for the sake of survival. After all animals have to sleep sometime. When it comes to increasing your gains, sleeping is pretty darn important. Let's start off with the most obvious effect of not sleeping enough, and that's the negative impact on performance. If you ever go to the gym feeling tired and sleepy, chances are you won't be doing half as much work as you normally would. Studies on sleep found that subjects chronically lacking sleep had significantly slower reaction times on the psychomotor vigilance tests. Slower alertness means both lower mental and motor capacity. Plus, studies found sleep deprivation increases the amount of mistakes people make, leading to a possible increase in injuries. And we all know if you're hurt, you ain't working out to begin with. As far as actual performance, sleep deprivation doesn't really affect your peak capabilities, meaning you still can push heavy weights or perform at a high intensity, but you'll get tired quicker. When we sleep, your body releases high amounts of anabolic hormones such as testosterone and IGF-1. You've probably heard of testosterone before and its close relationship with building muscle. When sleep is disrupted, however, especially when disrupting the first cycle of REM sleep, the release of these ever-important hormones take much longer. This can disrupt the body's ability to repair and build muscle during sleep. And even if you're not shooting for gains, but let's say you're trying to lose weight instead, sleeping doesn't necessarily help you lose more weight, but it does help you lose the right type of weight. When compared to people that slept 5.5 hours per night, people that slept 8 hours per night lost the same amount of weight, but they lost 55% more fat while preserving 60% more muscle. It's almost like you're sleeping your fat away. Not to forget that multitude of studies have shown lack of sleep increased levels of the appetite-raising hormone ghrelin, while decreasing leptin, the hormone responsible for making you feel full. So less sleep can equal to more eating and a bigger belly. So moral of the story is, don't mess with your sleep. Get your sleep and get enough of it.
PictureFit did an excellent job of explaining the important connection between sleep and your gains. But they make the fatal flaw of putting the responsibility on the already sleep-deprived, struggling individual whose judgment will be impaired and whose body will be weak, and who needs a proper intervention. So now you have seen evidence, and you can decide for yourself. Do you need studies to prove the obvious? And does not the obvious deserve a champion? Does not the obvious deserve to be heard? Just as an individual has to accept the problem to solve it, so does society.
It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it.
All work and no play make Jack a dull boy. Since everything else is killing your gains, it is finally time to say it. Work is killing your gains. Or more accurately, overwork is killing your gains. I dare say this is a new analytical framework, perhaps intersectional fitness, or intersectional hypertrophy, or intersectional kinesiology.
For all those whose cares have been our concern, the work goes on, the cause endures, the hope still lives, and the dream shall never die.
And another thought I often have is that it is one thing to know something and to be able to do something, but it is something entirely different to actually do something. I usually make cool travel videos, but sometimes I need to get philosophical. And in the words of writing legend Cormac McCarthy,
and I always knew that I didn't want to work.
How did you manage that? Most people would like to do that.
You have to be dedicated.
Yeah.
But it was my number one priority. And
that you didn't want to have a 9-to-5 job.
yeah, I thought you're just here once. Life is brief, and to have to spend every day of it doing what somebody else wants you to do is not the way to live it. And I don't have any advice for anybody on how to go about that, except if you're really dedicated, you can probably do it.
So you have worked at not working.
Absolutely. It's number one priority.